This is music, and this is another batch of songs from the Pukebox. Welcome to another episode of Songs from the Pukebox. Just a What Spinning series. Terrible title, I know. It's just a bad pun with a reference to the fact that a lot of modern extreme metal bands for some reason are very fascinated with vomit. There's no judgment of the music that I'm going to talk about in the title of this series, because basically I'm just going to show you some of the music that I've listened to over the last week, in this case last week basically, and just talk about it. So this time I'm going to sneak in a bit of an update part first, because I was browsing a Bandcamp the other day and I realized that I don't have any Enchantment merch. I don't have any t-shirts, and I do want to support them, Bald Beauties of Blackpool, so I decided to go and pick up the t-shirt with the cover artwork from Cold Soul Embrace, and then the t-shirt with that awesome Riddick artwork as well. And then I figured, you know what, I'll grab a copy of Cold Soul Embrace on CD. I already have it on vinyl and cassette tape, but that means that now with this one here, it's on hat trick in my collection. So there you go. Here you see the Bald Beauties. If you don't know this is great death doom, very melodic, sounds like it's straight from the 90s. And that's the heyday of death doom, so that's the stamp of quality there. Awesome. They also threw in, and it was Mark G with a C who kind of sent this stuff to me, so he threw in this very interesting looking compilation, Music from a Desolate World Part 3. And I can see that there is there's an Enchantment song on here, and it's called Godsend, and it's the demo version. And then you have a whole bunch of other very interesting sounding artists. So thanks for that little freebie. That's always nice. Let's get down to business. So first, Breaking the Silence by Assassin. Fierce, fast, furious, slightly groovy as well, thrash metal from Germany. A lot of people talk about the big four of Teutonic thrash metal, and it's really kind of an almost like imposition of the idea of the big four of American thrash metal. And I think that's doing the German thrash scene a disservice, to be honest. I think we gotta just do away with the idea of big four, because there's so many great thrash metal bands, both in the German scene and the American scene. Let's just kill the idea of the big four. Assassin, normally not considered part of the big four of Teutonic thrash metal, but we've just killed that idea. So great thrash metal album by one of the great thrash metal bands from the German scene. Up next, Black Sabbath, Cross Purposes. Tony Martin era, and Tony Martin is a fantastic vocalist, and I feel that the Tony Martin era Black Sabbath is often kind of overlooked and very underrated. This one here is a riff fest. You don't have, to my ears, the super memorable riffs like The Shining or Headless Cross, but you still have lots of awesome riffs, great songs on here. And Tony Martin sounds fantastic. So this is, in my opinion, it's a great example of Tony Martin era Black Sabbath being awesome. Up next, some power metal, Somewhere Far Beyond by Blind Guardian. I have this one on vinyl as well. Fantastic album, probably my favorite album by Blind Guardian. What I like about this is that they retain the speed metal infused power metal that they were known for in the sort of early days of their career, and they start infusing the more epic stuff in here. You have Theater of Pain, which is an early symphonic power metal effort by this band, and I think it works very well. It's also a great song actually, but it works very well with just one or two symphonic power metal songs, and then the rest is like speedy power metal stuff. Catchy choruses, great guitar work, awesome riffs, fast drumming, Hansi Kush sounds. He's got a unique voice, very instantly recognizable voice. You have the Bard's song. Yeah, the Bard. I don't know why I almost said the Bard's tale. The Bard's song, and you have the part 1 in the forest, which is almost like a mix of acoustic and folk music. It's very good. And then you have the Bard's song 2, The Hobbit. So very, very fantasy inspired, and that's a great power metal song. So lots of power metal classics. My favorite is probably Time What Is Time. So if you don't know Blind Guardian and you want to dig into great German power metal, check this one out. Up next, some Danish thrash metal, Invocator, Excursion Demise. I was inspired to give this one a spin. I have it on vinyl too, by Thor's Music Hammer. He recently picked it up. He was fortunate enough to get a signed copy, which is awesome. But he had to digest it for a while. He had to listen to it a couple of times for it to click with him. And so that kind of inspired me to go back and listen to it. And I do get why, you know, some people have to digest it a bit, because it's super fast and aggressive thrash metal. But it's also very technical, lots of changes and all that stuff. And when you combine the super fast, speedy stuff with the super technical stuff, and then on top of that you have Jakob Schulze's insane guitar solos, and this is to be understood positively here. I love his guitar solos, but blending all of that together makes for something that sounds very frantic. So I do get why it will sort of, some people have to listen to it for a couple of times before it clicks. I totally get that. Fortunately, when I heard it the first time, it clicked immediately. I love this album. Fierce, fast, techy thrash metal. So many great songs on here. Jakob Hansen's vocals, they're more like almost like screechy on here, and they just fit the music very well. So I love this album. This is an original copy CD pressing. The vinyl version I have is a reissue. I don't remember how I actually got a hold of this one. I think maybe I think it was given to me by the drummer of probably the first black metal band in the city I grew up in. I think that's how I got it, so that's pretty cool. Love this album. If you like thrash metal, do check it out. You may have to listen to it a couple of times for it to click. Up next, something that might also take a couple of times, Maximum the Hormone album here, or I think it's Maximum the Hormone in Japanese. It's a Japanese band, so Maximum the Hormone, I think, in Japanese. Sorry for butchering the Japanese language. One of my favorite bands, Invocator is one of my favorite bands too, but Maximum the Hormone, one of my favorite bands. Their music is characterized by a blend of all sorts of different genres. The core sound is a blend of groove metal, I would say, and hardcore punk. But you got a lot of funk metal in here, especially the bass. He does a lot of awesome popping and slapping and funky bass work. You have, like I said, groove metal as well. There's a little bit of new metal, but not too much, in my opinion. Some extreme metal, especially in the vocals. All 4 members of the band sing, but the kind of main vocalist delivers lots of different types of extreme metal vocals, screams, screeches, growls, death grunts. Fortunately, no pig squeals, so that's good for me. The guitar player does more like rock belting, and their drummer, she also sings, and the bass player occasionally sings. There's even some disco on here, so it's almost kind of avant-garde in a way. I love this album, super catchy. There's, like I said, everything from from extreme metal elements to disco elements, super catchy choruses, super heavy parts, crushingly heavy guitar tone. Amazing stuff, but it does require probably that you might be a bit open to lots of different genres being mixed in with metal and hardcore punk. I love this album. Great stuff. When I was in a death metal band some years ago, I would listen to that album a lot. Didn't have an influence on the music we made in that death metal band though, but I just enjoyed listening to it. Up next, some doom metal here, Pentagram, and this is Day of Reckoning. Very inspired by Black Sabbath. If you're cheeky, you could call it like Boomer Doomer or something like that. I actually really love Pentagram. It's old school doom metal with some kind of 70s hard rock elements. Great stuff. Lots of groove as well. A unique vocalist. Not super heavy or super slow, but certainly has those old school doom metal elements. Might be a good kind of gateway album into doom metal because it's not too extreme. And if you like 70s hard rock and stuff like that, there might be something to latch on to there. And from there, go even further into the dark and depressive and murky world of doom metal. Great album. I enjoy listening to it. Something completely different. The soundtrack from Flash Gordon by Queen. One of my favorite Queen albums. Freddie Mercury is one of my favorite singers. Ironically, this is a very atypical Queen album. Mostly it's instrumental bits, and mostly it's kind of weird stuff because, you know, it's for the soundtrack for a movie. And I actually like all those weird instrumental bits. There are some parts where you got some fantastic vocals by Freddie Mercury, not with words, but just almost as an instrument. I think it's in, as far as I remember, it's in either the Kiss or the Execution of Flash, one of those two. Obviously you have Flash's theme, Flash, that's an amazing song. I love that one. Of course you have the football fight theme, which I love as well. There is the battle theme, and there's Vulcan's theme, Attack of the Hawkmen, dive, that part. So you do have some great stuff, like Queen stuff, but a lot of it is weird synthy stuff as well. There's Here Comes the Bride, basically. That's Marriage of Dale and Ming and Flash Approaching. And it's intertwined with the music with just weird dialogue from the movie. And this is a movie that I have to say I absolutely love. I watched it when I was a kid, pretty much every weekend. We had it on VHS. I think we recorded it from just the television or something like that. It's very colorful. Kids will find it very appealing just because of all the colorful stuff and the weird characters, but there's also some dark and disturbing stuff going on. Love the movie, love this soundtrack. So there you go, but it's not a typical Queen album. Manic Frustration by Trouble, a legendary doom band. This is an OG CD from back in the day. I have a reissue on vinyl. So they're a doom metal band, but this is not a doom metal album. There's not a whole lot of doom, if any, on here. This is more of a hard rock album, inspired by 70s metal and hard rock. The vocals are absolutely fantastic on here. They fit the music perfectly. I love the guitar tone. There's lots of, I would say, Led Zeppelin influence on here. You have some great songs. Come Touch the Sky is fantastic. I love Excuse Me as well. The Sleeper is an awesome song too. Lots of groove on here, I would say. Memory's Garden is a super groovy 70s rock-inspired song, which reminds me a bit of kind of a less heavy-sounding version of Midnight Mountain by Cathedral also took their music from super heavy doom into a more like stoner doom, and it's almost like this one is a sister album of the Cathedral album. This one is just less heavy sounding, but just as great. I love Memory's Garden. The title track, Manic Frustration. It's just a fantastically groovy album with awesome vocals and just great overall. Although it's not a doom metal album, I would say personally, but I love it nonetheless. Up next, this one here. I don't know how many people actually know this. It's called Le Milieu de Trian. It's a French folk rock / folk music band from Bretagne. So they do lots of renderings of traditional songs from that area. So Bretagne has a strong Celtic tradition. So you do have lots of sort of Celtic folk music influences, but also lots of more like sort of traditional French music as well. They do some really awesome vocal and harmonies, and also just some straight up folky songs. Starts out with a great song called Les Présents de Nantes, which is just a great folk song. You also have some folk rock on here. If you like folk music and you don't know Trian, check this one out. I think I used to have another Trian album, which was also a compilation, which I don't have anymore, sadly. But I should pick it up. I really enjoy listening to their music. Up last, Unexpect in a Flesh Aquarium. And as a bonus disc, it has We Invaders. Now, I only listened to the main album In a Flesh Aquarium. So this is avant-garde extreme metal. It sounds like it's absinthe fueled, carny, gothic, weird music with extreme metal screeches and growls combined with kind of gothic pseudo operatic female vocals. You have blast beats and black metal stuff going on, and suddenly it changes into sort of swing or jazz or circus sounding disturbing music. It's a really challenging listen. I really love this album. I picked it up back when I was on a massive progressive metal kick. I count this to be part of the progressive avant-garde metal universe, and I saw them live supporting Dream Theater. And great stuff. They have violins and weird instruments and challenging listen. Think of circus metal, like I said, fueled by absinthe. Think of that weird kind of gothic circus, Moulin Rouge ish world, except it's not pop songs. It's weird avant-garde extreme metal stuff. You don't really have anything that's memorable about it because there's so many things going on that you don't have any sort of catchy, memorable melodies. But maybe the weirdness of it all is memorable. If you're adventurous, if you like avant-garde music, if you like Into the Pandemonium by Celtic Frost, and if you're wondering what would that sound like taken to an extreme degree, this might be it. In a Flesh Aquarium. So there you go, sneaky update and a bunch of CDs. I like all of those CDs. I just grabbed them randomly, by the way. So if you want to check any of those albums out, I can recommend them all. But of course, it's up to you to listen and, make your own judgment. Is it awesome or will it make you pukey sick? Thanks for watching.